All right, guys, it's 2 o'clock, or excuse me, man. I'm so excited that we're early today that I got the time wrong. It's Tuesday, not 2 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock Eastern on the dot. The first time I think that Noah and I have been early or prompt or on time, whatever the case may be. We are here. We're ready to talk some fantasy hoops. Noah, what's good, man? After that wonderful introduction.
Yeah, man, it's great to be back. As always, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think it's called Eastern Standard Time. I don't remember if that just changes to regular Eastern Time with daylight savings. Anyways, you know what time zone we're in. But yeah, I mean, it's great to be able to get back here and talk fantasy hoops. Obviously, as always, a lot has happened over the past week. Some things new injuries, new players playing well, new players playing bad, and a lot of the same. Some players still disappointing us and hurting our feelings and hurting our hearts after we talked about them all summer about how great they were going to be with their new teams. Zach, do any players like that come to mind for you?
Ooh, I feel like you're setting me up for an easy layup. And those are the kind of shots that the player I think you're talking about maybe foregoes in some of his games. So yes, it's time for our weekly segment of how bad is Jordan Poole? Yeah, it's like somebody took the water out of the pool and they're still trying to cannonball in, and they hit their head on the cement. I mean, it's been that brutal, man. Um, we were just talking before the show started about that clip where he shakes his man baseline, doesn't take the easy jumper, instead goes for a scoop shot and gets absolutely swatted back to the bleachers by Oster Thompson. Like, what is this man doing?
I don't know. And I think I mentioned this before. I'm not convinced that that shot would have gone in if Sar Thompson didn't block it. Like, he could have just scooped a layup from 10 feet away and totally airballed. Like, it didn't seem like a shot that was going to go in. I don't know what he was thinking. I'm sure if it went in, it would have been really nice. Like, it would have looked really good. I have to at least admit that. However, it got blocked. One, two, I don't think it would have gone in. So he also had the quote where he was talking about other teams game planning for him and how it's been cool to see and fun to see teams, cater their defensive game plan to what he can do, throw different looks at him. And like, no matter what they throw at him, it seems to work. Like, it doesn't really matter what they do. He's not really producing much value, and he's not playing to the level that he's paid to play at. It's nowhere near that. We obviously really wanted him to do well, hyped him up a lot, both of us. I know, I think we talked about it last week during our weekly segment of Trashing Jordan Poole, about how I took him in the fourth round of a league. Like, he's a guy that a lot of people liked to get early because we thought, okay, great opportunity for him to come in, low pressure, just put up numbers. Field goal percentage is going to be bad, but at least he will get points and assists and threes and things like that. And he just hasn't done much of anything, you know?
It has been brutal, man. It's been brutal in Washington in general, man. I think this is I mean, we might as well call them the Washington Generals. They're getting smoked on such a regular basis. It almost feels like a foregone conclusion that they're going to get blown out on any given night, unless they're playing the Detroit Pistons, which is another cakewalk. So, what are we doing in Washington then? I mean, outside of Kyle Kuzma, is there anybody on this team that you like for fantasy?
There's nobody that I like. I think that there are people and players that have upside, and there are guys that I think would be hard to drop. Like, it's hard for me. Like, I'm not going to drop Jordan Poole at this point. Like, even if he
Right.
has been very disappointing. I know you said Tyus Jones is a drop a while ago. I think I'm pretty on board with that now. Daniel Gafford from time to time is still good. Like, that game against the Pistons, you mentioned 10 points, 9 boards, 2 steals, 4 blocks. Like, that's
Yeah.
good. But I don't think he's played to the level of his ADP. I mean, we were seeing him drafted like probably end of 6th round, 7th round, some drafts, and he hasn't played to that at all. I like Koulibaly's upside, but man, outside of Kyle Kuzma, everybody's been disappointing in my opinion.
Yeah, you mentioned Gafford, man. Big games, but he's such a tease, right? Like he'll put these big games up and then he'll give you like 9 and 6 and no defensive stats. Like, what do we do with this guy? He's not a drop.
No, I think a lot of it is also the minutes are weird from time to time. I mean, sometimes you'll look at it and I guess it's just matchup dependent. But like, for example, the Hawks game, they lost by almost 30. He played 18 minutes. And it's like, why? I mean,
Yeah.
we can do an in-depth look and figure out exactly why, but it's not there consistently or as consistently as you'd want it to be for a guy that was drafted as early as he has been. So it's just disappointing. Just disappointing.
All right, so enough of the abysmal Wizards. I think I'm starting to feel a pang of depression setting in here. Let's shift over to your Atlanta Hawks. So Jalen Johnson, the wonderful fantasy breakout, most improved player candidate, out for I saw 4 to 6 weeks. I saw 3 to 4 weeks. I saw a couple of different reports. I think the consensus is minimum of 3 weeks and potentially up to 6. So in his place, it's been Baywatch for Sadiq Bey, but most surprisingly, man, DeAndre Hunter has come out and absolutely balled. What are we doing with DeAndre Hunter? Is he a must roster guy right now? Must add?
I think he is. I mean, Sadiq Bey is the guy that is going to fill the minutes of Jalen Johnson. I think he's probably going to benefit the most because the thing of it is when you look at DeAndre Hunter, he has 3 straight 20-point games. The first one, Jalen Johnson played the whole time. And then the second one, obviously, he got hurt. Last one, no Jalen Johnson. So it's not like, oh, Jalen Johnson got hurt and bam, DeAndre Hunter stepping up. Like he was playing well or starting to play well even before Jalen Johnson was out of the lineup. And now he's just taking advantage of the opportunity more. Last 2 weeks, per Basketball Monster, 84th in 9-cat. Last week, per Basketball Monster, 31st.
Yeah.
What his thing has always kind of been throughout his career is he's a good on-ball defender, or the best the Hawks have, and he can score, shoot mid-range shots, but like he wasn't really good in any category, which is why he just wasn't great for 9-cat leagues. But now, like, past week, 1.3 steals, 0.8 blocks. Okay, like that's what a good defender should be giving me, even if, not that he's a bad defender because he doesn't get defensive stats, but we would like that extra bonus. 2.8 threes, like that's nice. Quinn Snyder's been trying to get them to shoot more threes, even though he loves that mid-range. Getting him to shoot more threes is good for value. And then he's just hitting more shots, 52.1% over the last 4 games. So all of those improvements are great for his value. I say ride the hot hand. I mean, the Hawks certainly are going to keep giving him shots as long as he's shooting this well.
Yeah, the former Virginia Cavalier lighting it up. And for what it's worth, Jalen Johnson out last game against Boston, 29 minutes for Bay, 40 big minutes for DeAndre Hunter. So Hunter, the preferred pickup to Bay right now for anybody looking to the waiver wire?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say DeAndre Hunter's the preferred pickup, but Sadiq Bey is still a guy to add, in my opinion, still has good value.
Absolutely. Okay. And Noah, one more bit of injury news before we kick off with some comments. CJ McCollum potentially coming back. I think I saw Wednesday is supposed to be at shoot around and potentially able to play Wednesday if all goes well.
Yeah, it was either the reports were saying Wednesday or Friday for a return, and then a report this morning was saying shoot around, and if it goes well, he'll play Wednesday. I'd say Friday at the latest he'll be back, which is nice. I've been holding him in a league, so it'll be nice to have him actually in my rotation. That obviously when he's back to full strength, I don't know, maybe they'll give him a game or two to ease in, but he'll be back at point guard eventually. That's going to push Dyson Daniels to the bench, take a few minutes from Jose Alvarado. New Orleans has a lot of talent. They just haven't been healthy, which I think has been the case the past couple of years. And now that they're starting to actually be very close to healthy, I think Trey Murphy's going to be back pretty soon. It'll be interesting to see how their rotations look, what guys fall out, what guys just have their minutes cut. Definitely something that's worth keeping an eye on, but it seems like Dyson Daniels is going to probably be a drop when CJ McCollum is back playing his normal minutes.
And so once everybody's back, once McCollum's back, once Murphy is back, if the rest of the roster is healthy, Do you foresee Dyson Daniels or Jordan Hawkins, either of them maintaining any sort of fantasy relevant role? I mean, maybe Hawkins because he's a floor spacer. He's been phenomenal from beyond the arc. Maybe he has kind of that edge, but I can't really see minutes for either of them that would, kind of give them a role in 12-team leagues if everybody's healthy. I mean, do you agree?
I agree for sure. It's going to be, interesting. Is Dyson Daniels, Jordan Hawkins, are they going to get 20 minutes per game, or are they going to get, 13 to 15? Trey Murphy or Herb Jones, which one of them is going to start? Like, it's kind of interesting there because they're going to have a very talented player coming off their bench. So when a player like a Zion or Brandon Ingram misses a game, Jordan Hawkins will be sliding into the starting lineup. It'll probably be Trey Murphy or Herb Jones. I don't think that there's enough minutes to go around for them to all hold value in like 12-team leagues. But we know that if guys are out in front of them, that they're talented enough to step in and have big games. So it's just something to keep an eye on for when we need streaming options.
All right. And of course, we're holding all of our Pelicans because, McCollum could come back Wednesday or Friday. He could suffer a setback. They could ease him in, as you mentioned. And New Orleans is a team that is likely to make the in-season tournament knockout round, which is going to comprise all of our games next week. So definitely hold your Pelicans.
Definitely. And who knows? They always face injuries. So hold your Pelicans.
Absolutely. Hold your Pelicans. Okay. Let's move on to our first question of the day from Servant of the Most High. Is Marcus Smart a drop? I currently have Bradley Beal in my IR spot. My brother, I am sending good thoughts and vibes your way. That is a bad place to be. Noah, what do you think here? Marcus Smart, is he worth holding on to? I mean, obviously, if you have the IR spot, right? But if it comes down to him or Beal, I mean, what are you doing here? Because by the time Smart comes back, John Morant could be back, right? And we have no idea with Beal. His injury is been open ended for most of the season.
Yeah, I would try and hold both unless, I'm just losing games and desperate to get somebody off the waiver wire to step in and actually play minutes. I think I'd rather hold on to Bradley Beal than Marcus Smart just for the upside. Bradley Beal, when he's playing, could be like a top 50 player, assuming this 9 cap, but points leagues, he's really good too. Marcus Smart, he's going to give you the steals, decent assists, maybe a 3 or 2, but the upside isn't nearly as close to what Bradley Beal can give me. So I'd rather just hold on to Beal in the IR spot, even if Marcus Smart's going to be back sooner. But we really don't have a clear timeline for either of them as far as exactly when they're going to be back.
All right. Very well said. Thank you, sir. Okay. From the Cousins 9855. Not a question, but we will surely throw some banter this way. Traded Cam Thomas and Derek Lively and got Jalen Duren. Sounds like a slam dunk to me. What say you?
Yeah, seems pretty good. We can assume, I guess, if we're just going to go with standard, like 9-cat league, I think you got the best player in the deal. I think generally when you do that, you do have to give up 2 talented players to get the actual best. And that's what I think happens. So hopefully Jalen Duren's ankles can stay healthy.
All right. And this is a rare instance of a 2-for-1 where you traded 2 injured players and you got a stud back in return. So well done. And now you got Duren and whoever the flavor of the week is off the waiver wire. Nice job, cousin 9855. All right, from Admiral Nita. All right, is Bilal Coulibaly a hold or a drop in a 12-team cat league? What do you think? We were just talking about the cool baller out in Washington. What do you think?
I think unless you're desperate for some defensive stats and really have a team that's like punting 4 categories, but you're trying to win both defensive stats, then maybe you can hold on to him. But I think he's something that's fine to drop at this point. I imagine later in the year when Washington, let's see, they're 3-14 now, when they're 6-38. Wow, no, maybe even a little further on in the season. We'll say when they're 8-47 and benching some of their starters a little bit and trying to have a lot more youth playing in their lineups, then yeah, Koulibaly is going to play more minutes. I mean, he's played 26.1 this year, so it's not like only a little bit. Like it's a decent role, but the numbers haven't been great. Like 1.2 threes, 1 steal, and 0.8 blocks. Like that's good for a rookie, but not really much anywhere else. So later on in the season, I like him, but as of right now, I don't have any issues dropping him.
All right. And congratulations to Admiral Nita on your recent promotion from Rear Admiral to Admiral. Well done. Will Santi Aldama have long-term value, or does he become a drop when Morant and Smart return? I mean, I think if both of them are back, the quick answer to that is, yeah, he's a drop.
Definitely only in the starting lineup because they're dealing with injuries / suspension. So as soon as they're healthier, he's going to be back off the bench. Solid player, can fill in when Jaren Jackson Jr. is hurt, but not really long-term value.
But until then, though, we are taking a look at Santa Claus. 'Tis the season. From Air Dunks, is it time to pick up Trey Murphy and or WCJ, otherwise known as Wendell Carter Jr.? The drops would be Goga and or Eric Gordon in an 8-cat roto. I mean, Eric Gordon has been phenomenal recently, right? I think top 80 over the last 4 games. A big part of that is 3.8 triples per game. I mean, so his value is inflated because of points and threes, which I think are, in my opinion, categories that you can usually find a pretty reliable streamer for. You're not looking at Eric Gordon for anything else. So, yeah, I think if you can pick up either of these guys, Eric Gordon is a clear drop. And of course, when Wendell Carter returns, Goga Bitadze immediately becomes a drop candidate. But Bitadze's been phenomenal with the defensive stats. He's been like a top 60 guy since Wendell Carter went down. How are you viewing this situation?
I think I'm ready. I'm totally fine dropping both of them and picking up Trey Murphy and Wendell. I think having those guys on your roster definitely helps out a ton. And if you're a little early on it, then maybe you suffer a little bit of value while you're waiting on them to actually get back to the lineup. But both these guys are close. Wendell doesn't have a cast on his left hand anymore. He was able to get shots up today. Since it's not a shooting hand, I'm assuming he's going to be back pretty soon, pretty quickly. And then Trey Murphy, initial timeline was late November to December, or like maybe early December. So within the next couple of weeks, I'd assume he's back. So if you're able to kind of survive without Goga Bitadze and Eric Gordon for a couple of weeks, then I think in the long run, it ends up being worth it.
All right. Moving on from Fantasy Hoops Noob. Which of my bigs would you trade for DeRozan or Ja? Jared Allen, Walker Kessler, Big Marky Dubs in a 12-team 9-cat head-to-head. I mean, I think immediately we can talk about the man that's getting yurted out in Salt Lake City, Walker Kessler. Minutes restriction. Omer Yurtseven playing some solid minutes for the Jazz right now. Kessler, not looking so hot. So I think of that group, Kessler would be the trade for me. And if you need production outside of the center spot, I think DeRozan or Ja would be perfectly fine. Either one of them would be a good target. I kind of prefer Ja here. I know he's not the safer pick, but I don't necessarily want anybody in Chicago. And Ja's going to be coming back with fresh legs. I think he's going to be hungry this season. And I think we all know what Ja can do, when he's healthy and available. So I would trade Kessler for Ja. What do you think in this scenario?
Yeah, I mean, you're only going to be – so I agree on if you're going to have to trade one to trade Kessler. The role has kind of been iffy all season.
Yeah.
Even just came back from injury, coming off the bench behind Omer Yurtseven, like you said. Mark Williams is definitely starting. Jared Allen's definitely starting. Jared Allen isn't as fun, but I think he always gives good numbers. You know exactly what you're going to get. I think I'd also prefer Ja. I was trying to look to see exactly what game he's going to be back because I think the in-season tournament kind of throws the math off. But they've played 16 games, which means 9 more without him, which would probably have you or him coming back like before Christmas. So it would be only like 3 weeks without Ja that you would be also without one of these centers. So I would go Kessler for Ja probably if you had to, but I guess it depends on the categories you need. DeRozan just hasn't been great for me, in my opinion, this year. Like obviously the numbers are a little bit down, but it just seems like it's not like, oh, he's struggling with something. It just seems like overall he's just kind of down, which an aging veteran, like it has to happen at some point. Not everybody's LeBron. So
All right. And Noah, does it, if he didn't have to trade a big, like if he could just keep his roster as it is, would you still make the move Kessler for Ja?
that's what I was trying to think if I would do that. I think it would really depend on any sort of punt build. Like if you already have Jared Allen, Walker Kessler, and Mark Williams, I'm assuming that you're trying to win blocks. So giving up Kessler to get Ja, maybe not as great, but it would depend on other categories. So I may actually prefer to sit still, but if I was short on assists or short on points and I really needed the boost, then yeah, I'm happy to trade for Ja.
All right. Awesome. Moving on from Ian Solis. In a 9-cat, KD and Kawhi or SGA Hero and Cam J. That is an interesting one. I think I would like the SGA side. Maybe a bit hot takey here with Kawhi's been playing well. KD has been obviously a first round guy like he usually is, but I don't know. I think Cam Johnson is better than replacement player X, Y, and Z. Tyler Hero was really balling out before he got hurt, and SGA is fantasy's top player. So yeah, I'm taking the SGA side.
I think I agree. I think KD is already like, not that I don't love like the injury prone label, and it's something to like keep in mind. He has missed, I think, the last 2 games for them, and it's like, how many more is he gonna miss? Kawhi, like at any point, like just happens to deal with knee injuries and like different injuries, various injuries, misses games. So both of those are kind of like iffy for me. It's not something that I'm gonna base my decision off of, but it's something to keep in mind. Uh, Tyler Hero, like you said, was awesome before he went down, and I think assuming he's back relatively soon, which I don't remember if there's an official like timeline estimate for him, but I like you said, SGA has been that good that he's by far the best player in this trade. So yeah, I think the SGA side is where I'd go.
All right. And Servant of the Most High, appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in. Servant, Okongwu or Aldama for a 12-team 9-cat league? I think if we're talking right this very second, probably Aldama. But if we're talking within the next, by the end of the calendar year and beyond, easily Okongwu.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Santi Aldama is starting and is better right now. Over the course of the season, it's going to end up being a Kongwu that's the better, and it already is in season-long value. Kongwu's been much better, but
Sure. Okay. Should I drop Marcus Smart for Brandon Miller or Jeremy Sohan? No, I wouldn't.
I think I'd drop him for Brandon Miller.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Miller has been playing even better recently, and now he's going to be back in the starting unit with who knows how long. It is doubtful. Can you hear me, Zach?
I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. The Charlotte's just going to list LaMelo as doubtful until they're ready to play him. Like they're going to go doubtful out, doubtful out, doubtful out, and like that's just they did it all last season with Cody Martin. Do you remember how many Cody Martin blurbs you wrote last year? Just listing him as they put him as doubtful. Now he's out. It's like just clarity would be great. Like just say, hey, we're expecting him to miss 4 to 6 weeks instead of saying, well, he might play today, but actually we're not going to play him for another month. It's like. That's just, I don't know. That's what Charlotte does. So who knows about LaMelo? Brandon Miller back in the starting lineup. And I like what he's been doing recently. I like the numbers, good scoring, good threes. Yeah, he's going to have to do a lot or a little bit more with LaMelo gone for however long he's gone. So, yeah, no, I think I actually might drop Marcus Smart for Brandon Miller. Not Sohan, though. I wouldn't do it for Sohan.
All right. And Admiral Nita says thank you. Yep. Again, congratulations going from Rear Admiral. Okay. Clark Kent. What is Scoot's rest of season outlook? We are talking about Scoot Henderson, the number 3 rookie who has been coming off the bench as of late. Will he start and gain more minutes? I would have to imagine he starts getting more minutes over guys like Matisse Thybulle. I mean, what say you here?
I want to say yes. I think it might not be something that happens like anytime soon, though. I think, he's been coming off the bench behind Malcolm Brogdon since coming back from injury. I think that's just kind of where he is right now. He still has so much upside, still an incredible talent. I think he's going to be a star, but I don't think he's quite as NBA ready as necessarily we were expecting. And it could be a number of other factors like the team isn't as good. So maybe if he was in a different situation, it'd be better. But this is what we have. And it doesn't seem like he's quite as effective as I expect him to be, which is the exact opposite of what I was expecting between him and Brandon Miller. So right now, Brogdon's starting at point guard. Anthony Simons isn't even back, and Scoot hasn't been great in his limited minutes. I think towards the end of the season, we're going to start to see him pick it up. However, I don't think it happens anytime soon, which is why at this point, like if he's on your waiver wire, that's fine. I think within a couple of months, though, he's going to be playing much better than he is right now.
And yeah, I think you and I have kind of gone back and forth about Scoot, in recent shows. But yeah, to me, he's not a must roster guy right now. And it sounds like you're in agreement with that.
Yeah. And I think what we will see, and what's what we've seen the last couple of seasons, Portland has no shame when they start tanking. Like when they pull the plug, they pull the plug. And we saw Shaedon Sharpe put up huge numbers down the stretch last season. Scoot Henderson's going to be that guy this year. Hopefully it starts a little earlier than like March. Hopefully it'll kind of be like January, February that he's able to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's going to come at some point. It just doesn't seem like he's on the cusp or anything.
All right. From Sid K. More roster worthy in a 12-team 9-cat, Kyle Lowry or Keynote George? I would have to go with Keynote. What do you think?
Absolutely. Keontae George has been awesome. Assists have been like getting a lot of assists. The shooting percentage hasn't been phenomenal. It's actually been pretty bad. But their last game, he had some big shots down the stretch, had a nice poster dunk as well. Looking like one of the better players, one of the better values in that draft class, like one of the guys that's just been awesome so far. So, yeah, and Kyle Lowry, I'm not really rostering him anywhere.
All right. Any update on Jeremy Sohan? He got injured Sunday against Denver, didn't finish the game. Nothing that I have heard definitive about Sohan right now. Still kind of up in the air. Anything on your end?
No, they don't play again until Thursday, so I doubt we get any sort of update until probably Wednesday, maybe Tuesday, today's Tuesday. So I'd imagine tomorrow we get some sort of update, whether or not he practiced, things like that. But no, nothing yet.
All right. Our Suggs, Scoot, Sohan, White, and Denny worth holding in a 12-team 9-cat head-to-head. Lots to unpack here. What do you think? Suggs, yes, I think he's worth holding. Scoot, no. Sohan, no. Not sure which White we're talking about here.
Probably Derek.
I mean, if we're talking Heisenberg here, obviously he's been a baller. So you got to keep him. And Grand Slam, I don't know if he's necessarily a must-hold in 12-team leagues. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Jalen Suggs and Derek White are probably the two that I would hold. The other ones either had upside at some point. It just hasn't been great so far this year, or you want to hold out hope that they're finally going to turn it on, but it just hasn't happened. So I think Jalen Suggs and Derek White are the two that I would hold. The other three don't have to.
All right. And I'm going to revisit this comment from earlier. Which one of our bigs would be traded for DeRozan or Ja? And we got some more information down here at the bottom. I also have Triple J, and no, we're not talking Jaime Jaquez Jr. I'm sure we're talking Jaren Jackson and Jalen Johnson. We have all the J's on this team. We have Jared Allen, Triple J, Double J. Are you trading any of these J's for another J in Ja Morant? What do you think?
I think I would like the team the way it's built right now, but obviously with the way lineups probably work, not able to start 3 centers at the same time always, but you're dominating some of those center stats, but you don't have anybody that's going to give you a, just to stick with the theme of Jays, any sort of pull up Jays or deep range Jays. Like, you're not really going to get many of those from the guys that you have. Ja Morant could probably give you value in categories that you don't have right now. But if you don't have anything else that can really help with those, and like sticking with this just center themed stats, like, it might not be a bad idea.
Hell, man, if it's me, I'm trading Jalen Johnson for Ja Morant in a heartbeat if that guy will take the deal. I mean, I don't know if that's on the table,
Yeah,
but
yes, I would agree with that.
I mean, you keep Triple J, who's been underperforming. You keep Walker Kessler, who's been underperforming, and hope for a rebound. But Jalen Johnson probably playing at his ceiling right now, and we'll see how he looks when he comes back. It's a long time to be out of basketball, and you got him for nothing. I'm sure you got him for nothing. You drafted him at the end of your draft or picked him up off waivers, and if you get Ja Morant for him, that's easy pickings right there.
And Ja Morant will be back before Jalen Johnson. So that to me just seems like something that wouldn't be plausible. Like, I don't think anybody would say, oh, yeah, sure, I'll take Jalen Johnson for Ja Morant after I've been holding him through suspension for 16 games. Right. But if you're able to get Ja, I think Kessler's probably the best route to go if you just really want Ja. But I'm not very interested in DeRozan.
Agreed with you on that one. Okay. Moving down the list here. Another one from the Admiral. Was offered either Kessler or Claxton. I think that's what their name is, Admiral Nita, like I need a center. So was offered either Kessler or Claxton for Bradley Beal. This is a 12-team points league. So which one would you take? Would you take Kessler or Claxton for Bradley Beal? Because I wouldn't. I'd hold on to Beal. I mean, unless you really need the points.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way, because it's, Claxton and Kessler have also been pretty injured this season, haven't played nearly as many games as we'd like them to. But yeah, no, I think I'd rather have Beal, the points upside. Like, he's going to be able to score more points than the bigs who rely on rebounds and blocks for the majority of their value. So yeah, I think I'd rather have Beal.
Okay. And for what it's worth, Nick Claxton still having a pretty solid season, 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks. But him and Kessler obviously better for category leagues where block hold a lot more weight than in points leagues.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. From Brenda J. I picked up Bojan last week thinking he is near a return. What kind of outlook do you expect for Uncle Bogey? What do you think?
Oh, man, if I'm not mistaken, he's back practicing, so he shouldn't be out for too much longer, but who really knows what's going on in Detroit? It's kind of a mess. They're working through things, I guess, but starting the season 2-15 they have enough talent, or should have had enough talent through this extended rebuild to be able to be more competitive than they are. So I'd imagine when Bojan Bogdanovic comes in, they're going to want to mix things up, and he'll probably start pretty quickly and be a big part of their rotation. But it also would be shocking if he was on the trade block in 2.5 months, because he's going to be coveted by teams that are looking to compete right now. So I think he'll be able to get a lot of points and threes, kind of like in the past, not much else but points and threes. And that's about it when he's back in the rotation.
Yeah, I'm not too high on Uncle Bogey. I mean, he started last season. I think the first month was what, like a top. He was like a third rounder or something like that. I mean, he was obliterating, his ADP. But as the season went on, he kind of leveled out and he finished exactly what we thought he would. Right around 125 points and threes guy with decent percentages and really nothing else. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he starts when he comes back. I think Austin Thompson gives you way more on both ends of the court. Is younger, obviously, a lot more energy, a lot more length, and athleticism. So, I'm not sure. I don't see how, he was 21 points and 2.5 triples last season. I don't necessarily see how those numbers go up. You have Cade healthy, you have Killian Hayes, you have Jaden Ivey, you have Austin Thompson. I'm not entirely sure how he sees more minutes or better production than he did a season ago, and he wasn't anything more than we expected last season. So I don't think he needs to be rostered personally.
And that's fair. And I was saying he was going to start over Isaiah Stewart, and who knows if they do that. I think when they
Mm,
asked Monty Williams a couple weeks ago, he said like he didn't guarantee that Sar Thompson was going to continue to start when Bojan came back, which just kind of made everybody like go like, "What are you doing?" Um,
yeah.
Hopefully, he does the right thing and starts Bojan over Isaiah Stewart, and then he gives you threes and points. And like you said, if you need that, it's great. If not, don't worry about him.
All right. Moving down the list. We had Brenda J. Now we have Brian B. Would you trade Cat and DeRozan for Joel Embiid? I think I would. How about you?
Yeah, pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Not much banter on that one. Make the deal.
Yep.
Is Kobe White a hold in a 12-team, 9-cat league? Uh, a week ago, I would have told you to drop him. But I don't know. This is tough with Kobe White. I think if you can afford it, if there's nobody good on your waiver wire, sure. Last 5 games, 19 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, field goal percentage up near 50, 100% from the free throw line, 4.8 drills. Um, he's not going to sustain this level of production. He's never done it in his career. He's not an efficient shooter. He gives you nothing else other than points and threes. And his scoring usually comes in bunches. He has a few games where he looks like Kobe Bryant, and then a few more games where he looks like Kobe White. And at the end of the day, he's Kobe White. So yeah, depending on your league, but he's going to break your heart if you hold him, and you're eventually going to get burned.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. He has been playing really, really well recently. So maybe ride the hot streak. And then when he has a bad game, don't feel bad about dropping him. It's not going to be a season long play, but he has been filling up the box score with points and threes. So until he stops hitting like 5 threes a game, I might just ride the hot streak.
All right. I need help and input with my team. 9 cats, 16 teams. KD, Kawhi, Fox, Brogdon, Aiton, Claxton, Strus, John Collins, Lively, Conley, Reddish, C. Martin, IL, Trey Murphy, and Ja. Man, I just spit out those names, dude. I'm on a roll today. I'm not sure what advice we're looking for here, other than maybe trying to get me tongue tied here. Which nice try, Ian Solis. You didn't do it. What are the inputs here? I think maybe he just wants some reassurance here. I don't know. KD and Kawhi, solid. De'Aaron
Yep.
Fox. We're seeing the newest iteration of him with his 3-point shot, big time scorer. Malcolm Brogdon has looked way better than anybody expected. Same with dominating. Nick Claxton, huge with the blocks. Max Strus, well worth that big offseason contract, I think, for Cleveland. John Collins, fine. Derek Lively exceeding expectations. Mike Conley, I think he went to school with my grandfather, and he is still looking surprisingly spry. Cam Reddish, obviously injured. Who cares? You can drop him. Martin, I don't know, not Cody
Caleb,
Martin. I'm
probably.
sorry, it's Caleb Martin. Again, who cares? Caleb Martin. And IL, Trey Murphy, and Ja. Nice IL spots. and you have a few guys on your team that are easily dispensable, in my opinion, which would be Reddish, Martin, to make way for those guys. Noah,
Yeah,
anything to add here?
I will just add in one thing about Caleb Martin. Um, Haywood Highsmith just got hurt the other night. Let me actually, before I say this, just double check this injury report and make sure that he's actually not already back. Okay, he's questionable. Or last I checked, he's questionable. So if he's out, then Caleb Martin could start in this game that they play tonight, which he'd be able to give some value if he's starting. He did have 22 points in their last game, so he's been able to play okay. But other than that, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there.
Okay. Divine Booker, top. Yes. And Devin Booker has been pretty good too, his unnamed twin. Okay. Moving over to Thomas, friend of the show, frequent commenter. Thank you for commenting, Thomas. We still haven't seen
Yes.
Bender from Futurama today, though. I'm waiting to see when he drops in with a line. So start Trey Lyles or Harrison Barnes for tonight's game, and obviously the context here is King Keegan is doubtful. Last I checked, he may have been ruled out this afternoon. I'm not sure. Doubtful this morning. Needs some rebounds and blocks. So the last two games, Lyles has put up 0 blocks, 0 steals, 7.5 rebounds though. So obviously he's gonna get some extended minutes with Keegan out. I think if you need the rebounds, I mean, neither of them is going to give you a bunch of blocks. So I think for just rebounds and maybe the potential for some blocks, you got to go Lyles over Harry B. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're looking for somebody that has, I guess, some scoring upside or threes, then maybe I'd go Harrison Barnes. But aside from when he gets hot, he's not really giving you great value, not giving you any blocks or anything. Not a great rebounder. So, yeah, I'd probably go Trey Lyles just for the actual chance of him getting. Well, he will rebound better, and then a chance at a block, maybe. But Harrison Barnes, I don't. Maybe I need to check the numbers before I say this, but Harrison Barnes, I feel like against the Warriors isn't ever good. So let me double check that. Okay, so 26 games against the Warriors in his career, 15.8 points, 5.1 rebounds, 0.2 blocks, 46.3% from the field. Okay, so maybe not as bad as I expected it to be, but I would still go Trey Lyles.
All right, and there you have it. All right, this is not a fantasy question, but a GOAT question. Who would you take, LeBron or Kobe? No, I'm sure you know my thoughts at this point. I would take LeBron James. I would take LeBron James over Michael. Who would you take, LeBron or Kobe?
I'm in the same boat as you. I would take LeBron over Kobe, and I'd take him over MJ, take him over everyone. And I'm not. I know you're a LeBron fan. I'm not like a LeBron fan. I grew up rooting against LeBron. I think almost every single time he was in the finals. I think except for that first one or two, because I was like, okay, like I want to see this guy actually win a ring at some point. But not a super LeBron fan or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, you just have to kind of acknowledge who he is and what he's done and how good he is. So yeah, LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron for sure. Longevity, just his ability to do a little bit of everything, play multiple positions. But that is not to take anything away from arguably the greatest competitor we've ever seen in basketball, and Kobe Bryant, and a guy that did so much for women's basketball, after he retired from the NBA. So, yeah, and both, and LeBron as well, both, really dedicated fathers, promoting their kids, helping them get where they need to be, and fantastic players. So RIP Kobe, but I would take LeBron all time. Okay, Duncan Robinson. Is he worth a start as Jimmy not trained yesterday and Hero's still out, which will give Robinson a decent amount of play? Yeah, Duncan you've got to be playing Duncan. As long as he's starting, you got to keep him in the lineup, man. He's been he's been lights out, dude. He's been stroking him.
Yep, and he's been able to do some other things as well. Last 2 weeks, 3 rebounds, 3.8 assists. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's giving you value in other areas other than just points and threes. So absolutely Duncan Robinson all the way.
Okay. Hey, I'm in an 8-man league. I have Luca, Curry, and Trey as my big three. That's a nice big three. Should I trade one of them for heavy depth? I got BI, Paolo, Jamal Murray, Marcus Smart, Book, Kawhi, Clarkson as depth currently. That's pretty nice depth, but I mean, in an eight
Yeah.
man league, you would expect to have a pretty talented team. But even for an 8 team league, that seems above average. I would imagine this is probably a team that is top of the standings. I mean, what do you think here? I think if I had to trade one of these guys for some depth, I would probably trade Trey, but that also kind of begs the question: what kind of heavy depth are you getting, and which of these guys on your bench would you be dropping for that quote unquote heavy depth? I mean, I don't see any of these guys as easy drops. Maybe Jordan Clarkson is the weakest, but everybody else you got to keep.
Yeah, I think it's also, you say depth and Kawhi is on depth. I think that just speaks volumes about the talent of the team. Being able to qualify Kawhi as just, a depth piece. I don't know that I would necessarily make a move at this point. Trading away Luka, Steph, or Trey, obviously, if one gets hurt or something like that, yes, it's kind of hard to avoid that. Um, Trey and Luka have been relatively durable throughout their careers, so it would be Curry to me that would be the risky one. But I don't know. It's just kind of hard to play the game of, is this guy going to get hurt or not? Because if you trade him and he doesn't get hurt, then you gave up one of the best players in fantasy. But yeah, I think it would depend on the depth you're getting back, because there's already a good bit of depth there on your roster. Maybe some more center depth would be nice. It looks like Brook Lopez is the only center in that list. So if positions matter and you're able to get a star center, or like someone that's a tier below Steph or Trey or Luka, whichever one you want to trade, and then another piece or two, then maybe I would do that if those pieces are guys you'd actually want to be in your lineup. But yeah, I like having that much talent, especially because Trey has been better recently. So yeah, but I understand, like you saying, oh, Trey would be the one that I would trade. Like I get that too, but just because it's hard to trade Luka or Steph. But yeah, it just depends on the trade back, I think.
And so this is an 8K prize league. Yeah, you can't hide money. I'm just scared of Curry getting hurt. Um, I mean, Noah, two things here. Are you concerned about Curry getting hurt? I mean, I would assume his back is hurting from carrying this dog water team. And two, I mean, have you ever played in a league that has a K at the end of the prize pool?
No, and that's for 8-man leagues. That's a 1K buy-in. As soon as I read that, I was like, okay, I have to give a good answer here. I have to make sure I get this one right. I don't want to
Yeah,
ruin
yeah,
this. I'm so sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Steph has, I think he's missed like a couple games, only a couple games this year, like one or two, maybe three, something like that. Um, yeah, I mean, gosh, if I say like, no, Steph's gonna stay healthy, then like I feel like that's almost a guarantee that he won't. If I say it's risky, then I feel like it's guaranteed that he will. I don't know. That's just playing, like trying to factor in injuries is so difficult, because if you were to say, for example, a guy like a Kawhi or a Zion, like, oh, like yeah, he's gonna get hurt, he's always gets hurt, and then like they randomly just get hurt, and he's like, see, I told you, like they're not durable. Like, no, like that's just what happens in highly competitive sports. Like people get hurt. So can we bank on Steph getting hurt? Like it's hard to do that. Has he gotten hurt in the past few years a good bit? Yes. But man, I don't know if I don't think I'm trading away Steph just because I'm scared of him getting hurt. It would have to be a pretty good package for me to trade Steph away.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think Curry is somebody that is injury prone or more injury prone compared to the rest of the guys that were mentioned. I mean, like you said, these injuries are freak, man. I mean, KD missed time last year because a ball boy forgot to, wipe the
Right.
court. And pregame warmups, he, busted up his, what was it, ankle? I think turned his
Yeah,
ankle
it's
going
like
up for a
something weird.
layup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, is there an update for Week 7? I think that's a great question. So for Week 7, it's all in-season tournament games. So I think Noah, do you have any input here? Because my strategy for next week is if I'm looking for waiver wire ads, I'm looking at the teams that will be playing in the in-season tournament knockout round. So Indy and Los Angeles, the Lakers have clinched already. Teams that are in the mix that will, likely be there: Milwaukee, Orlando. We're looking down here: Sacramento, the Pelicans, the Rockets, and the Suns. Those are all teams that are in the hunt. Also, the Knicks and the Celtics. So those are all teams that are in the mix here. I'm paying close attention here to the teams that are, that clinch tonight, that make it in. If I can grab somebody off the waiver wire from one of those teams, I think you're looking at obviously a guy like an Obi Toppin for Indy who's available. If we're looking at Orlando, you can still get Cole Anthony in over 40% of leagues. I think that's a solid pickup. Milwaukee, you're looking at a Malik Beasley. Phoenix, obviously, you're looking at like a Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon, depending on injuries. The Pelicans, we hold our Pelicans. Hold our Pelicans, man. Sacramento, if Keegan Murray misses time, maybe you need some rebounds or blocks. You look at a Trey Lyles. And for Boston, don't necessarily know that there's an ad there. Maybe Sam Hauser if you need some threes. What's your strategy for Week 7? I know I kind of rambled there a little bit. But what are you looking at here for the in-season tournament stuff?
I think we're going to get more clarity on what it looks like exactly after tonight. Tonight's the last night of the pool play games. So I'm assuming tomorrow, by the afternoon, there will be, hey, these teams are playing these teams, the in-season tournament at these times, and the teams that aren't playing in the in-season tournament in Vegas are going to play these teams at this time. So I don't know exactly. I know that the in-season tournament, actual tournament games are the 5th, 7th, and 9th. So the teams you mentioned that are going to be playing in those, I seriously doubt that the NBA has other teams that didn't make it play on those nights. They're probably going to make most of the focus be on these in-season tournament games that they've been trying to hype up. So those will probably be quiet nights where it's only a couple of games. So making sure that you have guys that are playing in those nights, definitely helpful, as many guys as possible. The other nights I would assume are heavier nights where it's the teams that aren't playing in the in-season tournament. We don't know who's playing what teams. It doesn't seem like, because if it's 5th, 7th, and 9th for the in-season tournament, then it would be the opposite days that there aren't, like the 4th, 6th, 8th. I think the regular games resume on the 10th or 11th. I don't remember. But looking exactly at, when we find out who is playing what team, maybe that would be a little bit of an impact. But like the teams you mentioned that are going to be playing on these nights where there's only, either 4 games, 2 games, and then that last game, that 83rd game isn't going to count for fantasy basketball. I guess that's something else to consider. That'll be on December 9th. So it'll just be one day of basketball with no fantasy implications. So it'll be kind of cool. But the rest of it is just kind of keeping an eye on that.
All right, right on. And who are you picking to win the in-season tournament? Obviously, I mentioned Indy and the Lakers 4-0 in group play, the only teams to go perfect 4-0. But we have some other strong teams: Milwaukee, Phoenix, Orlando. Obviously, I'm picking Indy. I think no surprise there that I'm picking them. Who do you like?
Man, I really liked Indy as well. I'm not going to pick them just because that would feel like I'm just copying you. But it seemed like they were extra motivated. Like Tyrese Halliburton talked about, I haven't made the playoffs yet. And this is the closest thing that I'm going to be able to play in before I play in the playoffs. So I want to try and win this thing. I was like, yeah, you actually seem motivated. I think other teams, maybe not as much. I'm going to go with the Timberwolves. I'll pick the Timberwolves. I'll just kind of throw one out there. Assuming they make it, because if they blow it and don't make it, it's going to make me look like an idiot. But they've been the best defense this year. I think that they have it seems to actually be working a lot better than it did last season, the first year with Rudy Gobert there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Timberwolves. Maybe it'll be a Timberwolves Pacers final, and we can have fun with that.
Excellent. Okay, we got time for just a couple more questions here. Is it worth going for Zach LaVine at a low cost? I was thinking I'd offer Triple J and a third 24 pick in our dynasty league for LaVine. Noah, I know I'm not a dynasty expert here. This is your wheelhouse. But man, that doesn't seem like a low cost. A pick and Triple J, who is younger and has, to me, more upside than LaVine. LaVine has peaked already. And obviously, if he gets traded to the Lakers, I think that's bad for his fantasy value personally. I mean, what do you think, man? This is your show here for Dynasty. What do you think about that offer and just LaVine in general for Dynasty?
I agree with you in saying that. I don't think that's a low cost. It would, I guess, depend on league size, league scoring format. If it's a points league, then maybe because LaVine would be worth a little more, JJJ a little less. I don't see how he ends up on the Lakers unless Chicago sells low, just because nobody else is really interested in him, which that actually kind of seems to be what reports are saying, that nobody really wants to pay the price for LaVine. But the Lakers don't want to give up Austin Reeves. It kind of seems like they're going to find two random role players, throw in a couple of seconds and say, this is what you'll get, which is what people kind of do with the Lakers every time somebody becomes available. But he could end up with a different team. I think there's a really good chance of that, whether it's Lakers or not. I think I would absolutely rather take the Jaren Jackson and a pick over LaVine. Like you said, LaVine's, Jaren Jackson Jr. is significantly younger. LaVine's kind of in his prime. He can score, get threes, decent rebounds and assists, but can't really get much better at this point. And I doubt he goes to a team that allows him the same volume that Chicago is right now. So is he going to be traded to a team and be able to kind of be like a third option? Like if it was like the Lakers kind of situation, that doesn't do wonders for his value by any means. So a low ball offer, maybe. Jaren Jackson Jr. in a third isn't really a low ball offer to me.
Now, does this change your opinion here? I've already got Chet Wemby
Yeah, right.
and Shane. Whoa, man! I think you could go trade Triple J for a ham sandwich and you'd be fine with that big deal. Goodness. All right, so I've got Chet Wemby and Şengün, so Triple J is a bit redundant. I still think you gotta, if you're looking to move Triple J and he's, quote unquote redundant, you could get way more for him than LaVine, and you wouldn't have to give up a pick. I don't think.
Yeah, I think if you're set on moving Jaren Jackson, and like you said, do you think LaVine's going to thrive with a trade? If you believe in that, I would say fair. Trade Jaren Jackson, get LaVine, but I think in terms of the value of the trade, you should be getting a pick back with LaVine for Jaren Jackson as opposed to giving up a pick and Jaren Jackson to get LaVine, just based on the way players are valued. But if that's the deal you want to go for and that's how you believe in it, go for it. I mean, you have Chet and Wemby, so it's like there's not a ton you can do to mess up your team at this point. Like you're going to be good for a very, very long time.
All right. And from YouTube user, who I suspect is Daryl Morey tuning into our show, why is Harden playing so timid? I mean, what do we think about James Harden, playing with the Clippers? Obviously, Reggie Jackson, headband Reggie, just smoked him last night. So what do we think about the Clippers with Harden and how he's been playing? Any thoughts here?
I think it's just them still trying to figure things out. They were able to start winning some games, so maybe people were like, oh, like, cool, they figured it out. The Clippers are back. Like, they're good. Like, they're still figuring things out. They still haven't played. I think it looks like I'm quick counting 11 games with Harden. So, like, yes, they've started to figure things out, and it hasn't been as pretty as maybe we imagined, but they're still trying to figure it out. And the reality was never going to be 3 20-point per game scores with Harden, Kawhi, and Paul George. Harden was always going to have to take a little bit of take away some of his shot attempts to make this thing work. You'd like to see some more assists than we saw in the last game, but he had been pretty good with assists before that. I think it's just trying to make things work. So he's not the same player that he was. And hopefully as they play more games, he can look a little bit more comfortable.
All right, Daryl, I hope that was helpful for you. Noah, any parting thoughts here as we wrap up another week? It is 4:59. We went for the full hour this time. Any parting
Yeah,
thoughts, my friend?
on time and going the whole time. Like, I guess we should probably do this more often. I think this is kind of the way that things are. Maybe we should try and do that. Actually go from 4 to 5 p.m. That sounds like it's a pretty good idea, but it's a lot of fun as always. Getting to talk through some things. And next time we do this, I think it will be the day of the first end season tournament games. So maybe we can do like a live preview of those games, and we'll be really hyped about it because everybody loves the end season tournament. Maybe we'll have our own decorated courts in the background to be able to honor the event.
I think let's do it, man. I'm wearing a sweatshirt here, but underneath I do have my Tyrese Halliburton jersey on.
With the yeah.
With the new Indy logo on there. I'm having trouble pulling my sweatshirt up all the way, but you can see the D and the Y on there.
Yeah, because I could see it was the in-season tournament jerseys. So that was nice, right?
Yes, sir. All right, Noah, we are done, man. Enjoy your week, and we will talk again Tuesday, brother. And everybody out
Definitely.
there, thank you for your questions, and thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week. See you, man.
See you, Zach. Thanks.